Hey guys, even here with the old school labs, and in this video we're gonna talk about Patrick Moore once again, and we're gonna talk about his chances, or actually should he and could he move to classic physique, as some people suggested. I know, many people will say bodybuilding is bodybuilding, that's the bread and butter of this sport. That's why people are buying the tickets to go to the shows. Yeah, I get that's kind of true, but even though he cracked the top 10 at the Mr. Olympia after not competing for very long, you gotta admit that moving to classic for him is an interesting idea. It's definitely an interesting idea, and there are a lot of merits, a lot of interesting sides to this question, to this idea. So let's check this whole situation. I'm gonna give you my thoughts, I'm gonna give you some comparison. You're gonna see how he compares against the other classic physique guys, and should he really continue pushing the open, can he really do well over there? So let's get started. If you guys don't know what gave wind to the sails of this idea, you should go ahead and check this video out. It's basically King Kamali calling Patrick Moore out and saying that he should do the classic, that he is not meant for the open. But I'm not gonna bother you with that thing right now. Let's go with Patrick's Instagram account and a couple of posts that he made. Let's start with that. So he made this post. It's not referring to classic physique, but it's just a comparison of himself when he was smaller versus now, where he is much bigger. So he says, I remember hearing a while back that, quote, you can't grow muscle only where you want it. If you want to get bigger, you're going to sacrifice lines, end quote. He makes a little joke and then he says, you can do whatever you want to do if you have patience and take the time to do it right. About 3.5 years difference in these pics. If you talk about Patrick's weak points, it's definitely his legs. It has always been and it still is. But did he really grow them and only them? I don't think so. I think he grew overall, but his legs are definitely improved. Still very small for the open, but bigger and better for sure. Now, if you take a look at this photo on the left, this was a while ago and he was much smaller. He was much younger, 3.5 years ago. So, what do you think? I mean, was he looking classic? Well, if you ask me, he had potential to be a really good classic physique competitor. And he still does today. Let's check out another post of his, and this one is more specific. It's about the classic physique. So he is referring to King Kamali's comments and basically internet's overall comments about him going back to classic physique, and he compares himself against his younger version. Obviously, you can see that it's from the same show that he used in the previous photo comparison, and it was 2016 NPC Texas State. The show happened 2016 November, so it's 3.5 years ago, and actually I'm pretty amazed with the progress he made in only 3.5 years. So that tells you that he can make progress, that he made a lot of progress in a couple of years. So how much progress can he make in the next following years? How big will he be in the next 5 years? I mean, he's not very young, he's like 35 at this point, so he doesn't have the luxury of taking it easy, taking it slowly. He needs to step on that gas pedal if he wants to be great open bodybuilder, if he wants to compete against Brandon and William Bonek and Big Ramy and the other guys. And of course, again, the question is, can he keep his aesthetic lines while getting bigger? And he answered that question basically in the previous post by saying if you really want it, if you're really determined, and if you really believe it, you can do it. So let's see. I'm sure he's gonna stay in the open and we'll see how will he look when he grows. But right now, let's go back, let's go back to the classic physique. And after we actually see how would he do in the classic physique, I'm gonna give you my take on should he do it. So first in this photo right here, I mean, you can see that he was much smaller back in the day. But it's not a question of size overall, it's about making your physique complete. So he added some muscle on certain areas, and now his physique looks better. Now the question is, can he look the same if he loses the weight? That's the question. But before we answer that question, let's read his caption. So he says, you always find the greatest motivation from looking at progress. Here we have classic physique Patrick Moore versus open class Patrick Moore. 208 pounds versus 238 pounds. This is why I keep going. This is a game of time if done right way. When you love what you do, it's easy to take all the time necessary to reach the top. The journey is where excitement is. That's the dream. Keep going. So this caption, a couple of reactions of Patrick Moore made me not ask the question, will he move to classic physique? Because it seems like he's definitely not doing it. But should he and would he do well if he decided to do it is the question that we're gonna deal with today. So Firstly, he compared himself against his younger version. Now here's the thing, if you add muscle to certain areas on your body where you're lacking it, you're gonna grow bigger, and he added 30 pounds of muscle. Now, imagine if he dehydrated his body crazy, if he did a lot of cardio. Would he lose exactly the same muscle that he added over the years, or would he just overall get smaller, shrink down a little? Okay, I'm sorry, 30 pounds is not little, it's a lot, but imagine if he lost those 30 pounds. If he really got, dry, if he lost a lot of fullness, a lot of glycogen, would he look the same that he looked back in the day? No, I don't think so. I don't think he just got bigger. I think he added muscle on certain areas. And also, he wouldn't look the best way if he did that kind of thing, losing 30 pounds to cut the weight. He would definitely not be at his best. He would definitely be better if he competed like this, like he competed in the open against the classic guys, but that's not possible. He would definitely have to get smaller. But would he look like he looked 3.5 years ago? No, he would look better than that. Now, that's just my argument. That's just how I see it. If you don't agree with me, you can tell me, but I think that's just common sense. It's logical, right? Here are a couple of more photos, and you can see my point. He is more matured. He's more complete now. He's not just bigger. He rounded up his physique. He added muscle to certain areas, and that's why I don't think he would look exactly this way. Patrick Moore basically said that for himself, going down to the classic physique is taking a step back. It's doing something easier, something not as challenging. Choosing the path of least resistance, that would be going to classic for him. Now, what I wanted to compare is himself, Patrick Moore, 10th place in the Mr. Olympia, against the classic physique Mr. Olympia champion Chris Bumstead when he turned pro in the open division back in the day. It's not a competition photo, it's a room photo, but you can see that he is very conditioned. He was probably a couple of days out of a show. So you tell me, what do you find more impressive right here? I know, it's not a proper comparison. They're not standing one next to another. It's not the same angle, it's not the same lighting, nothing is the same. But hey, even if you don't say that Patrick looks worse here, that Chris looks more complete and overall more impressive, I'm sure you would still agree with me that Patrick wouldn't really have easy time against Chris. I don't think so. I think Chris has an amazing shape of pretty much everything, aside from his arms, of course. And I think that would be really troublesome for Patrick to deal with. No matter a category, even if they both competed in the open, actually. So, again, Chris became pro in the open, and this is what he looked like. Obviously, he's much smaller than he is today, and nothing compared to Patrick right now, but you can still see that it's not that far away. And also, it's not all about the size, it's about the shape. Patrick has the shape, for sure, but he is not as well shaped as Chris, let's be honest. Take a look at this back, for example, back double bicep, and pay attention not only to his lats, but to his lower body. Not only glutes, but the quad sweep, the hamstrings. Compare it to this. Patrick was 10th in Mr. Olympia, Chris was merely a pro back then. But you cannot deny that it's not very far apart. It's not that much of a difference. And even though Chris changed the division, he still grew. He still made some improvements on his physique. I'm sure Chris is not changing the division. I'm sure he's staying in the classic because he is the king over there. And he's probably not going to be dethroned for who knows how many years. But take a look at what he looked like back in the day when he was in the open category. He looked really impressive and really promising. In my opinion, this is the perfect shape, really. You can get much better than this. And I think it's better genetic potential than Patrick Moore. If you take a look at a couple of photos. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think so. And I'm not saying that Chris would beat Patrick on the open category, on the Mr. Olympia or whatever. But all I'm saying is, if these guys competed in the classic, no matter if Patrick had to lose weight, if he was the same, it still wouldn't be easy win for Patrick. I don't think so. I don't think Patrick is that big. Even though the scale may say that he is 30 pounds over the weight limit, I still don't consider him a freak. He's not a freak like Big Ramy, like William Bonac, like Brandon Curry. He's not that big. And I sort of agree with King Kamali that he's closer to the classic than he is to the open when it comes to winning a show. Here you can see Chris Bumstead and Regan Grimes. Regan Grimes is a top open bodybuilder, not top 10 in the world, no, but at some shows he cracks the top 3, top 4, top 5. He's a good pro in the open. Once he tried to do the classic physique, he didn't do that well. Here you can see him standing next to Chris Bumstead, and honestly guys, the size difference, I don't think Regan is any bigger than Chris. He has a little bit different structure, but I find Chris's physique way more impressive. Smaller waist, bigger, wider lats, more popping lats. I mean, yeah, it's not a showtime, so it's not about the conditioning, but I think Chris has deeper separation and a more matured muscle. So this was the moment when Open Guy went to the classic physique and got annihilated basically. Many people thought that Regan Grimes is going to be the next Mr. Olympia when he competed in the Open, and that didn't happen, not by a long shot, not even close. So this is what happens. It's not about the size. Even though he was still probably bigger than most of these guys, he doesn't have the shape, he doesn't have this beautiful structure like most of them. So you see what I'm saying? It's not gonna be easy for Patrick if he moved down. I say down in purpose, down to classic physique, because he would have to go down in weight, but not when it comes to performance. It still needs to be top performance. He still needs to be at the top of his game if he wants to be competitive in the classic physique, and that's not easy. It's not easy. Yeah, open category is much older and it's much bigger, but what's gonna happen in 10 years? Maybe this category is gonna do better. I know it's crazy, it's lunatic to say something like that, but is the possibility? I talked about it before, I made a video about it, and I still think it's a possibility, it's really possible. So maybe, just maybe, some open bodybuilders, not all of them, not most of them, some would actually make a smart decision of cutting the weight down and doing the classic physique, and that just very well may be Patrick Moore. I'm not sure what Chris Bumstead is doing in his prep, but look at him in the off-season. I think he looks bigger and more impressive than Patrick in the off-season. And when it comes to showtime, he's still under that weight cap, and it looks amazing, and he looks really good. So, again, he gained a lot of muscle since he was in the open. He's bigger now, even though he's doing classic. And I don't think Patrick would have easy time against him. Again, I said that many times in this video, but then again, I need to go back and say that it's not all black and white. I'm not really saying that Patrick should move to classic physique. I'm not saying that. Because take a look at this photo right here. Do you know who is that on the left right there? Yeah, that's Flex Wheeler. Look at that tiny waist. Look at the lower back, the glutes, the arms, the back, the shape of the back. Who does it remind you of? It reminds me a lot of Patrick Moore. So imagine if this happened with Patrick Moore over the years. Then it would make something great. Don't you think so? So to answer the question, should he move to classic physique? Well, I can't really answer it with yes or no. I can tell you basically that if he decides to move to classic physique, which is probably not going to happen, I'm sure it wouldn't be easy for him, not only losing the weight, but still being competitive in that lineup, because it really takes a perfect classic physique to be the winner, of course, like Chris Bumstead. But if he chooses to stay in the open, which is probably going to happen, he can still make an amazing physique and stay smaller. He doesn't have to be a size freak. He does not necessarily have to be as big as Big Ramy or Brandon Kerr or William Bonac or Phil Heath. He can still stay smaller. Smaller than those guys, bigger and more improved, and still dominate the stages. Just like Flex Wheeler used to do back in the day. And in this lineup, I'm not sure who won this show or what show this was, but I think he looks the most dominant here, even though he's not the biggest. And I don't know if he's the most conditioned, but because of the shape, because of the small waist, I just find him really impressive. Chris Cormier on the right, he looks amazing as well, and he's bigger, but the waist ratio to shoulders, it just makes your physique look insane, and that's what Patrick has. So whatever Patrick decides to do, it's the right decision. It's not a wrong move. All I'm saying is, if he wanted to do the classic, it wouldn't be easy for him. It would take a lot of work for him to be competitive in the classic. It could be the best decision for him. He could be the Mr. Olympia very soon, but again, he's passionate about the open bodybuilding, and even with this kind of physique, with a smaller frame, with not a lot of muscle, he can still be one of the top guys, and he can even win the Mr. Olympia if he does something similar to Flex Wheeler, right? So whatever he chooses, it's what he should choose. Whatever he believes in the most, and if he stays as consistent as he was for the past couple of years, and I'm pretty sure he's going to do just that, I think he's going to be one of the most dominant bodybuilders in whichever category he chooses. So guys, that's gonna do it for this video. You tell me, what do you think? Should he move to classic physique? And how would he do if he did it? If you enjoyed this video guys, please like it. If you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do. Subscribe to this channel. All the best guys and keep it old school.